Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Philly Ocean from the world's #1 yacht rock band, Yachtley Crew. We are coming to Australia this May on our first international tour, and we couldn't be more excited.
Beautiful, mate. Thanks for joining us today.
Hell yeah, happy to be here.
As you say, bro, Yachtley Crew, the Titans of soft rock, are headed to Australia for the first time ever this May for a run of shows starting in Perth on May the 12th. And you hit Melbourne, Sydney, and finish in Brisbane on May the 18th. So, how you feeling about it, mate?
We couldn't be more happy. I mean, we started back in 2017. We've been doing this for 8 years. We never imagined that something that we did just because we thought it would be fun would now be going international. We started off playing small bars in Southern California. Realized pretty early on that people love yacht rock. By the way, for those of you who maybe never heard the term, yacht rock is made up of all your favorite soft rock hits from the late 70s and early 80s. Artists like Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, Little River Band, Steely Dan, Christopher Cross. Those kinds of sounds make up what we play in our show, and it's the best music. It's so much fun, and it's super nostalgic.
And I think we should point out here, too, that it's not just like it is an entertainment show, but you guys are real musicians, too, playing real instruments the whole time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's about. It's a live music show, and it's super high energy. So people love to participate. They come out wearing their own captain's hats or navy blazers. They get in costume with us, and that's what amplifies it. Also, they bring all their friends too. I mean, we see people literally charter like those party buses, and they'll show up outside the venue, and like 20 people all dressed like us, and will get off because they're ready to party.
Fantastic, mate. Now, you say you've been going for 2017, which is 8 years. This is your first time to Australia, so the big question is, why have you neglected us for so long?
We were just waiting for the invite.
Very cool.
Which we got, and it's not an overnight thing. We're really hardworking. We've been diligently at this for a long time, and just trying to find a way to get in front of more people. And the last couple of years post pandemic have just absolutely exploded. I think there's a real hunger out there for people coming together around something positive that they love and that they want to share, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Now, where am I? You just lost me for a second there. So, being your first time to Australia or any country, mate, like, do you do your research on what to expect, or do you just come in cold and be yourselves and hope that's enough?
Yeah, I would say, research in terms of like we have a full team of people who are, making sure that the tour is going to go off. We also know that there are certain artists that Australia likes more than others. And so we can kind of lean into that. We can, have our set list kind of, I don't know, weigh a little bit heavier certain artists that you guys maybe know or that maybe didn't jump from like the States over to Australia. But beyond that, I've been to Australia before. I love that. I have many friends who are Australian actually, and I love the people down there. It's like America, only a lot nicer.
Best way to describe it. Now, the flip side of that is we don't know what to expect from you either. So run us through a typical show from Yachtley Crew.
So our show is super high energy, and we're all really, really enthusiastic performers. So we've been described as like the Kiss of soft rock. There's a lot of stage production, there's lighting, and the show and how we do this music is just really high energy and a lot of fun. And so we want to get the audience involved. We want to get people singing along. We have choreography. It's a whole show, and I would say, not to sound, cliche, but the best way to find out what we're about is to come to the show. You're going to experience what the energy is like in the room with us, and you're going to go down a trip through memory lane, and it's going to be an amazing night for you.
Now, you mentioned the audience participation, mate. Like, what tricks have you got to get the audience involved? Like, what do you do to get them up and firing?
For me as a performer, it's all about making sure that my energy is up and that I'm enjoying what I'm doing because I think that's contagious. And it's real easy with this music to do that. So, before, we all have like our pre-show ritual. We do like a hands in, we have like a little pep talk. We get our energy up, we get excited, we get ourselves amped up, and then we just go out there and we just give that to the audience. And I think that's what translates. I think that's what has gotten us to where we're at is that it's all about the audience making sure that they're having the best time. And so if we go out there tip top energy ready to put on the best show that we can, I just have to hand it over to the audience and trust that they're going to love it and they're going to be on board with it.
Have you ever had any crowds that have been particularly hard to get going? And what did you do to get them going?
So every once in a while, we get hired to play like a corporate event. And those are particularly challenging because people aren't there to see us. They're there to network with other people who are selling insurance, or, they're at a doctor's conference or whatever. So those are always the more difficult events for us to like get people dancing and singing and whatever. But it's also kind of a fun challenge because it's not like people are just showing up there to see us and they're ready to go. There's an element where that makes it a little bit easier, right? When people are there to see you and they want to. So we have to work that much harder to make sure that the audience members in those like corporate events are having fun. And we succeed, I would say, like 9.9 times out of 10.
Nice. Alcohol helps too, doesn't it?
Alcohol is always a good help at our shows.
So, where did the idea actually first come from? Like you said before, that it started just as a bit of fun between friends, but where did the
Yeah.
idea come from?
So our bass player and our drummer, they've been friends for a long, long time. They kind of got the band started. And our bass player was just listening to a lot of this music, 8, 9 years ago. And he was like, man, this is so good. And, no one's doing anything with this music. It's almost forgotten. And so he threw out the idea, what if we did something like this? What if we did something with this particular music for a little while and just see how it goes? And so he and the drummer started kind of pulling the band together. They had some auditions. I auditioned for the band. And then we slowly built the show. We kind of figured out, like, what do we want our vibe to be? What do we want our look to be? And we've been refining that for the last 8 years. And we will never stop. We're always trying to find ways to make the show more fun and more interesting.
And so do you remember what point you sort of sat back and looked at each other and went, I reckon we've done all right here?
Well, I would say our first tour after the pandemic in 2021, we didn't know if we were going to come back after the pandemic. They shut everything down. We couldn't go out and tour. And we just decided to stay creative. So we were recording songs and videos. We were putting them out for our fans to see. And then in 2021, when we went back on the road, things had barely just opened up here. And there were hundreds of people coming out to our shows, and then thousands of people coming out to our shows. And then the next year was even bigger. And it was probably 2022 that we were like, okay, this has some serious legs, and by that time we had a really great agent. We have an awesome manager. We have a publicist. So now we have this whole team that's invested. And then we got signed to Jimmy Buffett's record label. We put our first album out on Mailboat Records in 2022. And that one's called Seize the Day. And, that was really amazing. There have been these mile markers that we've hit, and it's still going, and we're just incredibly grateful. And this tour to Australia is another one of those markers. It's like, man, I can't believe that we get to do this. It's really awesome.
Wait, now, just to clarify, like, do you do the songs faithful to the originals, or do you put your own twist on them?
Yes.
Yeah. Which one? Yes.
Yeah, a little bit of both. This music is so well known. People have it in their DNA. And so we have to be faithful to the original, but also I would say we turn the volume from like a 5 up to like a 10 when we do it. It's definitely got a little more oomph than you might hear on the original record, a little more energy, but with that same musicianship and that same adherence to every note that's on those records that people will recognize is there.
Cool. Now, being a metal magazine, mate, I've got to ask you this question. Like, you play the soft rock hits from the late 70s and early 80s, but there's also bands called Alice Cooper, Motorhead, and Van Halen that had a couple of softer songs from that era. So, you ever thought about working them into the set list?
Yeah, we're honestly always looking at ways that we can integrate interesting new songs that maybe are yacht rock adjacent to the set. And we've done that from time to time, but we have to stay pretty true to the genre because that's what people are coming to the show to see. So if we do that, it's like maybe one song a night.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Now, before I let you go, bro, we've got a new segment we've started called Photo Bombs. So basically, I troll through your social media before I speak to you, pick out a couple of photos, and just ask you a little bit more about them.
Great.
There's nothing too bad, mate.
Good.
That's not the one I wanted. So the first one I found, it's this one here. It looks like it was a lot of fun. Tell us Where were you here?
Oh, so this was actually that's our drummer and our bass player right in the middle there, and their girlfriends and wives, and they were I think in Cabo with a couple of friends. They just went down. We actually had a little bit of a vacation. I didn't go on that one, but I know they had a good time. I'm not sure they remember the time that they had, but I know they had a good time.
Very cool. And this one, I want to know, mate, like, technically, is it cheating if you've got a yacht rock band doing a tour on a bus?
Oh no, definitely not in the States because we have so much land here. So yeah, that was this summer's tour in front of it was the last day of our tour in October actually this year. And that was an amazing 3 week run. We had an incredible bus driver and honestly went really, really smoothly. And we had a lot of really, really positive feedback. So that was a special one. That photo was taken in Dania Beach, Florida, which was the last day of that tour.
And are you going to be busting it around Australia or are you going to be sailing it or flying?
We're going to be doing a little bit of both. We'll be flying over there. We'll be on a bus on the East Coast, I think, for some of those dates, and we'll be flying back and forth because I mean, like if we were going to drive across the whole continent, it would take us way too long, and our gigs are pretty close together. So I think the most we have off is like 1 or 2 days at a time. So it's going to be a fast and furious tour, but we're going to go over there. We're going to just absolutely blanket Australia with Yacht Rock and hopefully play to thousands and thousands of people. By the way, tickets are already selling really good. So we're very, very excited about this tour.
Fantastic, mate. Well, thanks very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. You've convinced me to come along to the show. So hopefully,
Hell yeah. It's going to be great, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We'll see you in May.